It was supposed to be an ordinary night of speeches at Utah Valley University. The date, September 10, 2025. The crowd, mostly students, young professionals, restless Gen Zers who had driven hours to be there. Some estimates put it at more than 6,000 packed into the hall, with hundreds more spilling outside watching on screens. At the center stood Charlie Kirk, 31 years old, founder of Turning Point USA, one of the most influential conservative youth movements in the country. Love him or hate him, you could not ignore him. To his supporters, he wasn't just a political figure, he was a spiritual rallying point. A young man who, despite his controversies, kept bringing it back to one phrase: Jesus is the most important thing. And then chaos. At 8:37 p.m., according to police records, a gunman in the back row pulled the trigger. Witnesses recall the sound echoing unnaturally loud in the acoustics of the auditorium. At first, many thought it was a stage effect. Then the screaming started. Cell phones dropped, people hit the floor. By the time paramedics arrived, Charlie Kirk was gone. The murder sent ripples far beyond Utah. News alerts lit up within minutes. Prominent conservative leader shot dead. Social media timelines flooded with disbelief. On TikTok, videos of the chaos racked up millions of views overnight. Twitter, or X, trended with hashtags like Pray for Charlie and Martyr. But something else happened, something measurable. Google Trends show that in the 48 hours after his death, searches for Christianity and revival jumped by nearly 50%. Posts containing the word Jesus doubled in volume across major platforms. In a fragmented internet culture where nothing unites anymore, suddenly people across divides were saying the same name. In Salt Lake City, spontaneous prayer vigils erupted. In Dallas, hundreds of young people gathered on the steps of a courthouse singing hymns. London, Seoul, Lagos, different continents, same reaction. People came together not to debate policy, but to pray. It was messy, uncoordinated, sometimes even chaotic, and yet, undeniably, it was happening. This isn't the first time violence against a preacher sparks something larger. The story of Jan Hus in 1415 feels eerily similar. Hus, a Czech priest, challenged the corruption of the medieval Catholic Church. He was jailed, tried, and burned alive for refusing to recant. Records from the Council of Constance describes him singing hymns as the flame rose, a detail so shocking it became a legend. His death meant to silence instead triggered the Hussite Wars, and a century later, Martin Luther's Reformation. Huss had predicted it himself: you may burn a goose, but a swan will rise that you cannot burn. The pattern is brutal, but consistent. Martyrdom becomes momentum. The executioner becomes the unwilling midwife of revival. But here's the thing: America in 2025 is not medieval Bohemia. This isn't just about theology, it's about power, politics, polarization. Charlie Kirk was controversial. He angered progressives with his stances, clashed with fellow conservatives, and lived under constant threat. His critics called him dangerous, divisive, a propagandist. His followers called him a prophet, a truth teller, a warrior. That tension, the love and the loathing, is why his death hit so hard. For some, it felt like justice. For others, it felt like proof of persecution. But underneath the arguments, something cut deeper: grief. Because whether you agreed with him or not, a 31-year-old was gunned down for speaking. And in that raw grief, people who normally wouldn't even share a room ended up sharing prayers. So here's the investigative question: was this the spark of revival or the start of something darker? On one hand, the signs look familiar. Tertullian's ancient words, "the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church," feel alive again. Vigils spreading across borders, young people talking about faith like it matters. On the other, America is more divided than it has been in decades. Political violence is rising, the line between faith and ideology is blurring dangerously. And so, the death of Charlie Kirk stands at the crossroads. Is it the seed of awakening or a warning flare of collapse? Jan Hus, Charlie Kirk, separated by 6 centuries, united in a single truth: you can kill a man, but you cannot kill an idea once it has taken root. Evil always thinks death is victory. It never learns. Death has a way of planting seeds it cannot control. And so tonight, whether you loved Charlie or hated him, you can't ignore what his blood has done. It has pulled thousands, millions into the same conversation, the same prayer, the same fragile, trembling unity. That is the paradox, the anger at a world that keeps tearing itself apart, and the strange joy of seeing, even for a fleeting moment, people come together on their knees. Because the blood of the martyrs has never been the end, it has always been the beginning.